Hey, welcome back to the show. On this episode, we're going to be talking about some things that contractors waste so much time on in their business, and they feel like they don't have enough time to complete everything. I've recently, if you've listened to any of my podcasts or know about my coaching, I have meetings with my clients. We work on things in their business. And so recently had a stream of conversations with some of my clients. And after hearing them talk about like all of these different things that's going on in their business, it becomes very clear that there is no priority, there's no structure, there's no time management that's happening in their business. And because of that, they feel like they're literally out of control all the time. Now, recently I went to, where did we go? About a month or so ago, we went camping nearby, and we went to a town, and we went go-karting, and they have like these, I wouldn't call them professional go-karts, but it's a pretty nice indoor go-kart track, and these go-karts are pretty fast, okay? And let's just put it this way, after 8 minutes of racing these go-karts, I got done, my forearms were on fire, my wrists were on fire, like it was a workout. Like, because there's these carts are fast, there's lots of G's trying to make turns, lots of movements and stuff. So this isn't like your silly little backyard, low value go-karts. These are pretty nice. And we were doing this, we went karting, and in there was a situation where I was trying to increase my times, my lap times, right? I'm trying to get better and better and better each lap so that I can increase my lap times. And what that involved was every corner that I would take, I was trying to figure out how I can take this corner without hitting the brakes or letting off the gas, right? Because in racing, if you have to let off the gas or hit the brakes, or if you spin out in a corner, you lose momentum, and then that kills your track time. So every corner of every lap, I'm trying to figure out, where can I increase my productivity, if you will? Where can I get quicker times, right? Where can I reduce the effect of the braking or letting off the gas or skidding my tires around corners? And so we ended up doing 2 sets of races, 8 minutes each, 16 minutes. By the end of the second race, I had like the second fastest lap time of the day. I had the first, and somebody beat me right after that. But I was like trying to, they give you all those statistics. I'm trying to knock off like tenths of seconds in my racing. Now, that might make sense in a racing environment, but in a business, we don't think about things like that. We don't think about, where can I make a small improvement in how I go about my day, in how I do my sales, and how I do my estimating, and how I do my productivity. Where can I make small incremental improvements that over a period of time will actually add up to a huge improvement? And I've talked about on this show before about, if you ever heard of Paul Akers, he owns a company called FastCap, and he's really big into Kanai and Kaizen. Kaizen is, well, a Japanese term. It just means like constant improvement. And so he's taken that, condensed it all down into what he calls the 2-second lean. Lean is a manufacturing term, but it applies to everything in our business and our lives for that matter. But when you take his philosophy, which is just try to make a 2-second improvement, again, this is like in a manufacturing type of setting. So for you, if you're a carpenter and you are, let's say you're cutting crown, right? Crown molding, where can I improve the process of how I cut this crown, or maybe how I measure it, or how I install it? Where can I make some improvements that allows me to install this crown at a faster, more efficient way, right? So you make micro improvements. If you're a painter, there's like 2 ways to paint around trim, right? You could put up tape it off, cut to the tape, remove the tape, all is well, or you can just cut in by hand. If you're listening to this and you're a professional painter, you're like, no, no professional uses tape. Whatever, that's your boat. I'm just saying that's two different ways of doing it. We can all probably agree that putting tape on there and then taking it off takes a lot longer, right? But it might leave a cleaner line. And so there's always trade-offs to these stuff. Do I want to spend more time installing the tape so I have a really crisp, clean line, or can I cut it in with my skill, save the time of putting the tape up there, but the line's not going to be as crisp? It might still be really good, but it may not be as crisp. And so where's the trade-off? So sometimes we have to make a decision of, am I just trying to make this process shorter, more efficient, if you will, or does quality matter with this, with this decision? And you guys have to make that decision of, what's more important, the quality of it or the efficiency of it. And I'm talking about every single aspect of your business, right? We have to do this. But what I've noticed recently, and I've noticed this like all the time, but it's come up more recently in my one-on-ones with contractors, is that there's no time management. There's an abundance of time wasting activities. And I'm just as guilty of this, even in my construction business and also in my consulting business, my coaching business, I'm just as guilty. There's times where I literally just waste time because I'm not productive, because I don't have a specific outcome for that day, or I don't have a specific goal or task that I need to accomplish that day. And that's my fault, right? But what happens a lot of times is not that there's nothing to do. That's almost never the issue for contractors. It's that there's too much stuff to do. There's just too much, right? And so I'm on a call today with a client, and I was talking to him, and there was a sales call that he needed. I was like, dude, when we get off this call, I want you to call them immediately, and I want you to talk to them and tell them that the last year's estimate is not good for this year. I want you to do it immediately. One, because I don't want you to wait all day and like think about it and overthink it all day long. But two, you need to stop procrastinating on it and just get it done quicker than, sooner than later. And I said, then message me once you're done. And then not even 10 minutes after we got off the call, he's texted me and he's like, I just made the call, and he recorded it for me to listen to. He's like, I just made the call. Take a look at it. You're right. Everything's good. I don't know why I was like overthinking it. Right. That's good. But what he said on there was like, well, I'll do my best to try and get to it today, as well as the other, 26 things that I need to get done, or I forget how he worded it, the other 26 hours of stuff I need to try and get done in 8 hours. Can any of you guys relate to that? You got 15 hours worth of work to do in an 8-hour day, or 20 hours of work to do in a 12-hour day. Anybody ever relate to that at all? Right? That's why I told him, I was like, look, dude, don't say you'll do it later. Do it right when we get off this call. It'll take you less than 2 minutes. And that's why he did it. And it was problem solved. Right? But that comment of, I got like 26 hours of work to do in one day, that is a byproduct of not prioritizing the most important things in your business. Now, you may have seen a video or a talk one time where a teacher has a glass jar and he fills it with, a bunch of big rocks, right? Like really big rocks. And then fills it to the top with big rocks, and then asks the class, is this jar full? Everybody says yes. Then he whips out some other medium-sized rocks, puts it in the jar. They fill in around the bigger rocks. Again, fills it up. Is this full? They all say yes. Pulls out another jar of little pebbles, puts it in there, fills it up even more. Is this full? Now they're starting to think, well, maybe, but yes, it's full. Whips out some sand, fills it up with sand. Is it full? Yes, of course it's full. And then he whips out some water, and then even pulls more water. And so the purpose of this exercise was that if you fill your jar, your day with sand, which is the smallest things that you can, the smallest things in terms of importance, then you will not have any room for doing the big things, the big rocks. And so you may have heard a term big rocks, right? Work on the big rocks first. And that's true. You need to, because when you remove one big rock, it frees up a large chunk of time in your day-to-day operations, which now allows you breathing room to tackle more things. Okay, you guys follow me so far? So most of us are, we're professional arsonists. Like we go around setting fires in our business all day long, and then we're also the firefighter. So we're the arsonist on one side and the firefighter on the other. People say, oh, I'm putting out fires all day long. And my response is, well, quit starting them then. Well, that's not me. My guys forgot, the guys didn't take a tool out to the job site. That's not my fault. Are you sure about that? Like, do you have a checklist of tools that they're supposed to take with them when they go do that specific job? Do you have a trailer that has all the tools in it so that's already there? Do you have vehicles? Do you try to, share one special tool amongst 5 different crews, and so you never know where that tool is at? Like, if you're doing those things, that's your fault. That's not your guy's fault. Okay? So there's always things in there where in that scenario, you were the arsonist because you started the fire by not having a process or the right equipment available so that everyone has the stuff they need. You're getting the call to try and save them. Boss, can you bring this tool out to us? We can't go any further without it. You were right in the middle of doing an estimate. And then what do you got to do? You got to stop, go get the tool, drive it out there, drop it off. Of course, while you're out in the field, you may call another crew because they're on the way back, and you call them and say, hey guys, I'm heading back to the office. I was going to swing by there and check on you, air quotes, check on you. Do you need anything? Yeah, boss, can you grab an extra couple sheets of drywall? We're going to be short. Sure. Next thing you know, your day, okay, more air quotes, your day of doing estimates and invoices turned into 1.5 hours of doing estimates, followed by 7 hours of running materials and putting out fires. If that sounds like you, then you have some major issues in your business that are self-inflicted, meaning you're the arsonist. You created the environment that was dry, right? And then lit the spark, which created the fire. Okay, are you following with me? This is not a situation of nobody wants to work anymore and everybody's dumb and nobody has common sense. All of the things that we say every single day under our breath, after the guys leave at the end of the day, sitting in her office by herself or complaining to our spouse at home. Ask me how I know this. Guilty. Guilty is charged. I did all this. So much so that my wife just got sick and tired of hearing me complain about it all the time. And it was like, you know what? I don't want to hear about your complaints anymore with your team. I was like, okay, I guess she doesn't care about me or my business. Wrong. I was doing the same thing. And after, 5, 6, 7, 9 years of doing the same thing, same song and dance, same story, same problems, different day, different employees. There's your sign in there. Same problems, different employees. That's not an employee problem. What's the common denominator here? It's me. It's us as the owner. We're the common denominator in all of this. It's just easy for us to blame external forces. So how do we fix this, Brad? Well, first thing you got to do is you got to figure out what your non-negotiables are. Now, if you listen to the podcast episode last week with Dre, he talked about creating non-negotiables. For most of us, it's working out. It's, maybe it's doing devotion or prayer time in our Bibles. It's eating healthy. It's hygiene, getting ready, all that stuff. Those can be non-negotiables to you. Maybe you have other non-negotiables, but it's making sure those things are done first thing in the morning. A non-negotiable, if you don't know, it means like this has to be done. We're not negotiating it. We're not going to not do it. Right. So you have to create some non-negotiables for you personally, because if you're at your best mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, if you're at your best, then the rest of your day is starting out as a win. You're setting the conditions to have a good day. If you're the kind of guy that wakes up at 6:45, throws on your clothes, stops by the gas station, gets the crappy coffee there and a honey bun for breakfast, and then gets to the job or to the shop or whatever by 7:30, right? Ready to go. You've created an environment. You've put junk food in your body. You've not done any exercising. You haven't done any emotional or spiritual readiness, none of that stuff. So you're starting your day already at in kind of a neutral position, if you will. If you get up, do your exercising, eat healthy, breakfast, devotion time, meditation, whatever you do, and then you go to work, you're starting your day with a positive, right? A full tank, if you will. When you just jump up, get your clothes on and leave, eat crappy food, crappy drinks, coffee, and all that stuff, because you got to get to the job site, you're starting the day with a half tank of gas. So no wonder by 1:00 you're out of gas, right? So part of this is like we got to start off on the right foot. That's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother podcast we've talked about in the past. You have to have a good non-negotiable like morning routine to get going. And I've done all of this. Trust me. I've done everything from get up at the very last minute, get out the door, to getting up at 4:30, in the morning and making sure I have 3 hours before work. And I'm somewhere in the middle of that now, right? I get up around 5:30 and then I roll into work about 8. Okay. So there's 2.5 hours of personal time for me to be able to be at my optimal best. Okay. That's one thing. We got to start off with a full tank of gas. The next thing is we have to understand what's important and what's urgent, because not everything that's important is urgent and not everything that's urgent is important. Sometimes we think this is a really important thing because maybe there's a deadline attached to it or there's a quality issue attached to it. And so we make something that is important and make it urgent, even though it doesn't need to be. Right. So we end up being the person who's putting out all of these fires all day long because we haven't created the ideal situation for our team who is supposed to make our life easier. We've created a situation where they rely on us to do their job every single day. They rely on us to make decisions. And so what ends up happening is, and I know you, if you're listening to this, you've said this before, well, it's just faster if I do it myself. It's just faster if I do it myself. Right? I know every one of you listening to this have said that. It's just faster if I do it myself. In reality, is if you would actually just spend an extra 20 minutes one time showing someone how to do something, you'll never have to do it again. And then you just, you may save 10 hours over the course of the next year or two if you just spent 20 minutes today showing them how to do it. So you sacrifice 20 minutes of your already crazy day, show them how to do it, and then that saves you 10 hours of execution over the next year versus I'll do it myself, right? Which may take you an hour each time you do it yourself, and then 10 more times over the course of the year or 9 more times. So you end up spending 10 hours, quote, doing it yourself 10 times. We create this environment in our head where we just don't have enough time. Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how it can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show. I remember telling my wife all the time, because my wife works in higher education now, but before that, she was a physical therapist, and she would have a really busy schedule. So you might see 10, 12, 14 patients a day. So it's a full day of working hard, getting the stuff done. But then I would always say, yeah, but dear, but at the end of the day, you get to go home. For me, being a business owner, I have to go back home and then I have to work on estimates and I have to do invoices and I have to do payroll and I have to do this. And I got to work the weekend. I got to work the evenings. You get to go home at the end of the day. If I have to finish the day, let's say at 5 p.m. because my son has a baseball game, and then I get done with that and it's too late and I don't have time to work on anything, then in my mind, I'm starting the next day in a negative, like out of gas, because I'm like 4 hours behind on all the stuff I got to get done. So now instead of doing 12 hours of work today, I have to do 16 hours of work today. That's what I would say all the time. Every morning, it's like waking up and you're being in the negative before you start work. That's what it felt like. If you feel like that in your business, if you feel like you're starting the day in the negative, you're not doing something correctly in your business. Now, obviously there's hundreds of things that you could be doing. I don't know what those are, and I'd love to help you figure those out. But if that's your case, you're not doing something correctly, or you're not doing a lot of things correctly. And we need to figure out what those are and figure out quickly, because that's how you lead to burnout. That's where you get burnout, because you are doing or trying to do 26 hours of work in a 8 to 12 hour day or 16-hour day. Some of you are probably laughing and be like, 12 hours? I'd love to only work 12 hours. I work 16 hours.
I work 16 hours a day, Brad. What are you talking about, this 8 hours, 12 hours?
Some of you wear that like a badge of honor. Like that's a good thing. Well, these contractors today, they don't know. They got it easy. They don't know what it's like to work 16 hours a day. I would look at you and say, buddy, you're not doing something correctly. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of you are in beast mode and you're trying to grow, something amazing. You're trying to do amazing things in your life and business. And so you just work that much because you're trying to get ahead. And I'm not knocking you for that. If that's what you want to do, then you go do that. Go in beast mode. I don't care. I'm talking to the ones that don't want to do that and they are doing it. The ones that feel like at the end of the day, they work their ass off and they're dead tired and they feel like they actually went in reverse because they have more work to do at the end of the day than when they started. And their goal that day was to knock down their list. That's the ones I'm talking to. If you're kicking butt in your business and you're in beast mode and you want to work 12, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you're trying to grow this thing and you have big plans and you're executing, have at it. Good for you. Go in beast mode. Okay. But for the majority of the people that I talk to, they're not trying to be in beast mode, or they are in beast mode and they're still barely keeping up. That's a tall tale. What's the word? That's a telltale sign that you're not doing something right. And usually it's because we're doing non-valuable tasks. Remember, non-negotiables is what we want to do in the morning. Most of you are doing non-valuable tasks. You're going and getting materials. Guys, I tell you right now, I don't care what you do. If you're the owner of a business and you're the one going and getting the materials for your crews every single day, you're doing it wrong. Straight up, you're doing it wrong. You should not be the person getting materials, ever. You shouldn't. It should either be a low-level person on your team. It shouldn't even be your foreman, by the way. It should be the lowest person on your team getting materials. Or, better yet, you have it delivered. Now, you can order the materials. You can put the information together and order it, but it should be delivered. And so most of you are like, well, that, every time I deliver, let's just say I need 3 sheets of drywall. They're going to charge me $65 to deliver it, Brad. Well, then charge more. Either get better at estimating your materials, order extra materials, or pay the delivery fees and factor it into your pricing. If I'm doing a job and I have to order materials and it's going to cost me $65 to have the material ordered, or the material delivered, I'm just charging the customer $65 more. If it's a $10,000 job and I'm going to have 3 deliveries of $65, I just add that into my $10,000 job. Whatever 65 times 3 is, I don't know, let's say it's $50. I'm going to add the extra $150 to the cost of my job. Now it's a $10,150 job. Do you think somebody's going to say, I was going to hire you at $10,000, but $10,150 is just too much, so I'm not going to hire you? Like, do you really think that's what's going to be the deal breaker for you? No. And if you like, well, Brad,
it's always the little things that come up. They get in and they don't have this or that.
Then factor that in. Factor in 3 different deliveries to your job. If you only typically do 1 delivery, that's $50. But let's say on average, and by the way, this is why you job cost, because you would know this information. If you job cost and you know that on average, we have to make an extra trip to the store. Even if we have the first one delivered, we always have to make an additional trip to the store. Then guess what I'm doing? I'm putting 2 delivery charges in my estimate, and I'm planning for that. So the next time I have to have a material delivered, it's already in my estimate. Some of you think that your time is just free time. In other words, what you do in your business is free time because you're not paying someone. So, after hours, get this. We used to, when I was doing a lot more like handyman, small job type stuff, and where I just had to pick up, like a new doorknob for a job, or I had to pick up something small. I would, like with my family, we would stop by the store after church on the way home and get all of the materials I needed for those jobs that week, the small jobs, because I felt like that was saving me time, which was in turn making me more money. Well, I'll just do this off the clock. It's free. My time's free. Okay, so what you're saying is, and I'm talking to myself here, what you're saying, Brad, is that taking an hour away from your family to go get materials for a client of yours because it's free, even though it's costing you an hour, is the absolute best way to run a business. That's a growable and sustainable way to run a business. That's what you're saying, Brad, right? It took me a long time to realize this is stupid. Why am I doing this stuff? My clients are paying me for a turnkey solution, so I'm going to give them a turnkey solution and charge them for it. So even though, yes, technically I could just stop by, sometimes we go to the store after church to get something for home, so we're already at the store. I'm not saying like if you needed one little tiny thing, You're already in the store for personal reasons that you can't buy it. I'm not saying don't do that. But if you're making special trips because you're trying to, quote, save time, or on your way home at the end of the day, you stop by the store because it's on the way home and that's going to save you more time, then you're not doing it right. You're just simply not doing it right. So you have to make sure that you factor this stuff into your estimates as far as like getting materials. There's lots of other ways around this, guys. You can order materials in bulk. I was talking to a gentleman who does a specific type of service, and so they pretty much always use the same materials, right? And he does buy some things in bulk, and he has to store them somewhere. He has a little garage. And I said, why don't you? I was like, how many times a week do you have to go get materials? Like he has some in stock, but then it always ends up like they use their stock out and then they get to the job and they need like one more piece of whatever that is. And then they have to go to the store and get that one piece. And I was like, well, how often does that happen? He said, about maybe twice a week. So twice a week, like you run out of materials and you got to go to the store or to the shop or the warehouse supplier, pick it up and deliver it. Yeah. And he says the warehouse place is like 45 minutes away. So twice a week, you drive to the warehouse, get materials, deliver it to your guys. Yes. So 45 minutes one way, that's an hour and a half. You got to be there, you hang out. It's easily 2 hours. That's 4 hours a week on average that you waste going and getting materials when you could just buy more bulk, and that way you can eliminate that problem. Because he's buying in bulk, but he's not buying enough bulk. So he may buy enough bulk for 2 jobs or 3 jobs or 4 jobs, right? But he might be doing 2 or 3 jobs a week. So like this, what he's buying in bulk is only lasting him a week or 2. And then he's repeating that process. I was like, dude, why don't you just like order more of it? Instead of buying 2 weeks worth, buy 3 months worth. Yes, it's going to cost more money, but if you know you're going to use this, then why wouldn't you do that? Plus, when you buy that kind of bulk, you save money, right? They give you discounts. You get pallet discounts, whatever, bulk discounts, trailer discounts. So you can actually save money. I said, do you have enough storage space for it? No, not really. I can make it happen, but if I do that, then I'm actually going to lose rent money for that space. I was like, okay, well, what about getting a shipping container? Would that work? He's like, yeah, I've thought about that. That could work. Shipping container is like $4,000 or $5,000. You pay it once, you own it, right? If you don't have the extra space per se. Now, listen, not everybody's situation is available to do this. I understand that. But what I'm telling you is there's ways around solving problems to free up time that you have so that you're not the one doing it. That's what you're supposed to do in business. As an owner, you're supposed to fire yourself as many times as possible. You're the current material getter. Figure out a solution to that and fire yourself. You're the current, salesman, but you don't have time to do sales, then hire a salesman per se and fire yourself. There's ways to do this, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. The other thing I'll leave you with on this is that the way you do like time blocking and the way you be most productive is not by doing the same 15 tasks every single day. If you have to switch tasks 15 times in a day, I guarantee you, I'll bet any amount of money in the world, you are not productive. Anytime you switch tasks, it's been scientifically proven that if you switch a task, it takes about 7 minutes on average in order for you to actually switch your brain over into the new task. And then if you actually switch back to your existing task, like in the example where you're doing an estimate, you have to leave to get materials, you come back and start your estimate. On average, statistically, it takes 23 minutes for you to get back into focus mode or to pick up where you left off. So every time you switch task, you lose 7 minutes. Every time you switch back, you lose 23 minutes. If you do that, twice a day, that's an hour of productivity lost. You do it 4 times a day, that's 2 hours of productivity lost every single day. So the way you do things is, and maybe you have to split it up into 2 days, but the idea here is on Mondays, I'm doing invoicing. That's it, right? I'm not doing invoicing every single day. Some of you, you're doing multiple jobs. And so as the job comes in, then you do the invoice. The next day, a new job comes in, you do the invoice. The next day, 2 jobs come in, you do the invoicing. Just pick a day of the week, let's say Monday morning from 8 to 12, and you just do all of your invoices from the previous week. Once you get into invoice mode in your brain, you stay there until you're done. And your productivity level for that will go way up, and you will end up saving 1 to 2 hours a week on that one task because you've bulk done that task. And then maybe Monday afternoon, you order materials for the week ahead or the next week, or you do your scheduling, whatever. Friday afternoons, you do all your scheduling for the next week. Friday morning, you order all your materials, whatever that is. But a lot of you guys are doing the same 15 tasks and you're doing it every single day. So you get to the job, you get to the shop in the morning or whatever, the office, and you dispatch your guys. Hey guys, here's the work for the day. Cool. The next thing you do is you log into social media and you make some posts, reply, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you do is you do the invoices for that day. And then the next thing you do the sales, maybe a couple sales calls or call people back. And then the next thing you do is you order materials for the next job and so on and so on. But you do that every single day. That is not the way you create a productive environment. You bulk do the task together. I can't tell you how many times I put off doing estimates simply because it was a big estimate that was going to take me a ton of time. And I would wait weeks, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks to do this estimate. Half the time in the process, lose the job because I was taking too long, make up a bunch of excuses. Oh, I'm sorry, this, and just had nothing but problems. I'll get to you next week, right? And then the third reason is because I'd forget everything that I had just went out and did the estimate on. So I wouldn't do it. I would just keep putting it off, keep putting it off, keep putting it off. So whatever you're putting off in your business that's stressing you out in the process is a pretty good indicator of a system that you need to create or fix or a process you need to streamline. And so whatever those are big rocks. So if you need a more streamlined invoicing process, a more streamlined job costing process, then that's what you should work on first. Why? Because if you have to do that, if you're doing it every day, 5 days a week or 3 days a week or whatever, and it takes you a long time and you completely dread having to do that, then if you create a process to streamline that and make it as easy as possible, you will no longer dread doing that task and you'll be much more efficient at doing it and you'll do it quicker. And when you do that, you'll free up time. So as you keep chipping away at these things that you hate doing, whether you hire someone out or streamline the process or a combination of both, you're chipping away at all of this negative energy that you have because you hate doing that task and making it so easy that now maybe, just maybe, you actually enjoy doing that task because you've made it in a way that's simple and potentially even fun and exciting. But we choose the path of right now least resistance. We actually sacrifice our future for today's comfort. Where if we would just sacrifice today's comfort, the future would be much easier for us. It's just quicker if I do it myself. right? That's a perfect example of sacrificing our future for today's comfort. It's easier for me to do it myself 10 times than it is for me to spend 20 minutes explaining to you how to do it. So, guys, I hope you got some value out of this podcast. If you're doing things in your business and you just feel like you are overwhelmed every single day, remember, you're not doing it right. Business is not supposed to be that kind of hard. A lot of you are confused about what hard work is or how hard it is to own a business. Owning a business is not hard because you physically have to work so many hours. Owning a business is hard because you have to do things that you're not good at, that you don't like doing, that's repetitious, that's boring. That's what's hard about business. Making tough decisions, letting people go, talking to bad clients. That's what's hard about business. Business is not supposed to be you work 16 hours a day on the tools and burn yourself out. That's not the definition of having owning a business, and that it's hard and not everybody could do it. If business was easy, everybody would do it. I work 16 hours a day on the tools. If everybody could do that, then it would be easy. That's not what they're talking about. If that's you, you're doing it wrong. Let me know if you want help with that. At the very least, I can at least do a consult with you, do a strategy call, and figure out what you can change in your business. Go to the show notes. There's links in there. Schedule a call with me. More than happy to sit down with you for 20, 30 minutes and see if there's opportunities to eliminate some of this chaos in your business. So, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you on the next episode. Remember, you can find me on all the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. Search for the Hammer and Grind Podcast. And remember, until next time, guys, profit is not a dirty word.